I did say a Miata's cool. Did you get that on camera? Today we got a quick fun project. We got a little Mazda Miata here. It's got a hole in the floor. We're gonna fix it up quick and easy, sort of down and dirty. It's not a full restoration by any means. This is a daily driver. It's got 170,000 miles on it, and it gets driven just about every day. We're gonna use the MIG 90. We're gonna show you how easy it is to patch up this floor. We're also gonna show you a couple tips along the way, show you the difference between flux core and solid wire. With a project like this, you really need something like the MIG 90, where it's a true MIG welder with the regulator, all set up to run solid wire. We're gonna show you why, we're gonna show you how flux core could get the job done, and where this is just gonna shine. So let's get into it. Don't forget, when you're working on something like late model, you know, it's got a computer in it, always take the battery out. Keep this thing protected, prevent any shorts. So if you're looking for a light with a little luxury, you're kind of opinioned on what kind of color temperature you wanna work in, this Milwaukee light's the best. Yes, it's for color matching, body work, but it makes a good flashlight too. Trying to clean it up a little here. We're making a bit of a mess, but we're gonna peel this carpet back. We got some cleanup work to do, try and get all the flammables out of the area without having to disassemble the whole car. So right now we're just trying to get all the sound deadening material off so we know what we're working with. You know, you can see this hole we got going right now. That's the main patch. Then we do need to clean up this whole area. Probably get this whole floor pan in or some rust encapsulator. The crazy thing is Sean's planning on driving this thing home in about 6 hours, so kind of under the gun. So we're using some Milwaukee tools on this project. Got a nice body shop light here. We also got this polisher sander. This thing's really cool. I really like it because you can actually switch over to a roll lock and use all the roll lock type consumables we sell. It'll also do polishing as well. So we're gonna have to kind of peel this back, get all this cut out. It's kind of cruddy. So we have a decent idea of just how big the hole is now, but what we're gonna do now is actually cut back some of this metal, at least figure out where our good metal is. After we do that, we'll figure out what our patch is gonna look like, we'll cut our patch and fine tune it to ensure our patch fits nice and tight. We're actually gonna try and use this panel saw. This panel saw is great because it'll cut multiple layers of sheet metal, or you can even cut just one. It's got a nice diamond blade on it. We should be able to really clean this up. All right, so we're about an hour and a half in. We got it all cut out. We're back to clean metal. We kind of have a plan of what we need to do now. We're gonna clean it up, hit it with some Rust Encapsulator Plus. We actually have a prototype of it in an aerosol can. Don't tell anybody about that. We're gonna try it out here because it dries pretty quick. Then we're gonna template everything, cut out our patch, see if we can get this buttoned up today. So to do our paper template, we're gonna use a manila folder. This is gonna give us a great idea, and it's got some rigidity. And then we're gonna use some stitch weld magnets. These things are great because we're gonna be able to hold it down and then sort of rub the edge of where we cut and sort of define what our patch has to look like. So you can see it pretty well at this point. We've got it defined. Just put these two marks here because they actually have a little factory bead. We're gonna try and mimic that. So we'll start cutting that out. Well, we got our brand new Rust Encapsulator Plus aerosol. As you can see, very clear. We're gonna use this, hit everything. This dries quick, and it should give us all the corrosion protection we need. We got this from our patch kit. This is 20 gauge, it's aluminized. This is gonna help with the corrosion protection. The 20 gauge is very similar to what the Miata had that we just cut out. So to make our patch as precise as possible, we're gonna take some magnets to really hold it all down. We're then gonna start with the Sharpie. We got a nice wide chisel tip Sharpie here. We're gonna trace around it, and then we're gonna actually make that thicker. We're then gonna come back, use a scribe, and that's gonna give us an exact cut line. If you really have that narrow line, it helps you stay as close to it as possible. We'll be able to ride right along that scribe and get a real precise cut. Now we're just gonna clean up all these edges, clean up some of these corners. If we did everything right, this should just drop right in. Not bad. It looks like we got a little bit of cleanup work to do right here, but not bad at all. All right, so we got our patch cut out. Came out really good. Fits up really nice to our template. Actually fits in the car surprisingly well as is. Before we go any further, we're gonna add some beads. This is optional, but it's gonna add some structure. It's gonna match sort of the factory beads that were in the floor. We're gonna do two right here. We're gonna stop at the flange, and then this initially was a little plug. We're just gonna put 2 little ribs in it just to strengthen it up. We're gonna use the 8-inch bead roller. This is really designed for 1-person operation. With the 19-inch, it's kind of hard to work by yourself. This little 8-inch, you got this hand crank, it's real easy to use. We're gonna use these 1/4-inch bead dies, be real easy to get set up. I'm just bringing a nice stopping line here for all 4 beads. These first 2, they're gonna start right on the edge. These 2, we're gonna come in a little bit because this was a flanged area here. So we've got this just tight. That's gonna be great for these. Now when we come over here, we're gonna have to counter revolutions and put the metal in and then back it off so we're consistent. Looks real good. One last step we gotta do before we weld it in is put some spot weld holes where it's gonna sit on the flange. You can always do this with a drill. Step bits work great, but if you want a real burr-free finish that stays flat, it's hard to beat these metal hand punches. All in all, I'm really happy with how this fits. It's gonna do real good in there. The beads line up pretty well also. So we got it all set up in there, sitting flat with the magnets. We're gonna start tacking it in. Before we do that, we're gonna dial in the machine. We're gonna use some of this 20 gauge. All of our MIG welders, they come with a basic settings chart. We're using 023 wire. 20 gauge looks like, 16 and a half volts, maybe 256 inches a minute. I'm actually gonna go a little shy on that wire speed. We're recreating a butt weld here, pretty similar to what's in the car. We're just gonna give this a shot. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. We're getting a real small weld. It's pretty flat. Turned up the heat a little more, turned down the wire a little. When you're doing these stitch welds and you got a butt weld, you really don't want to add a ton of material. You're looking to just get a bunch of heat in there, really fuse everything together, sort of end up flat. That way, you're minimizing the amount of time you're grinding. So we got a magnetic ground there. It's really cool. It's got a little spring, a brass screw to make contact with your sheet metal, and then you can clamp right to it. You can also wire these right to your ground clamp if you want. I just like using them in situations like this. So we just got this thing tacked in and got a few more welds on there just to make sure it's not moving around. It's staying pretty flat, and we got a few plug welds in there. But what we're gonna do now is sort of a fun side-by-side. We're gonna swap over to 030 flux core wire. To do that, we're gonna leave our bottle off. We're gonna have to swap our polarity, put in the new spool, and then you guys are gonna see just how difficult it is to get any decent weld with sheet metal with flux core. We're gonna have a tough time here. We're probably gonna burn through most of this, and then we're gonna end up having to do some cleanup work with the 023 wire. With this flux core, we gotta do the same thing. We gotta dial in our settings. What's gonna be a lot different here is just how hot this burns and just how dirty this weld's gonna be. So you can see there just how dirty that is, how nasty it looks. You can see where it basically, at the settings we were at, it actually welded itself right to the table. So the welds are strong, but they're a lot hotter. It's a lot harder to work with. We're gonna turn it way down, see if we can get it any better. There we go, we got it dialed in a good bit. We're way down in our settings. We're at like 16 volts, 170 inches a minute. So we'll give it a shot. We're gonna do our flux core welding over here on this side. We've got our solid wire welding over there. You can see it's pretty clean. It's not all dusty and nasty. There you can quickly see just how dirty this stuff is. Yes, it works. Yes, we put 2 pieces of metal together pretty successfully, but whenever I get the chance, I'm gonna run solid wire instead of flux core wire. I just think you get a much cleaner result. It's much easier to work with. You can see what you're doing. The weld just feels so much nicer when you're doing it. Well, that was a fun exercise, but we're going back to solid wire. Flux core, it's just dirty, it's nasty. This will be a lot cleaner, a lot quicker, a lot easier. Well, we got it all welded up, more or less ground down. We're gonna leave some areas. We're not gonna grind it perfectly flush. It's a floor. We're gonna wrap seam sealer on it. We're gonna fold this carpet back, send it down the road. This is a quick, fun project, real easy to do. MIG 90 did great. Well, in just about 6 hours, we managed to cut out the hole in the floor, replicate it with new sheet metal, and make a really nice patch, put some bead rolls in it. Weld it in with the MIG 90, show you why you should use solid wire instead of flux core, get it seam sealed, and Sean should be able to drive home tonight. That's a pretty good day, pretty quick project, a lot of fun. For more information about the MIG 90 or any of the other tools we used, make sure you check out eastwood.com and make sure you subscribe for more content.